Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Glacé Film Club podcast. And yes, here we are once again to dive into a film, pick it apart and let you know exactly what we think about it. And when I say we, it's not just me here, sat on my chair on my own, banging on about a film, as much as that does happen on a regular basis. But I am joined by the regular film connoisseur, the man who sees art and thinks, that's me, I am that, and I absorb it all within me. It is, of course, Callum. How are you doing today, Callum?
I am art and art is me.
Exactly.
Apparently.
When I see any form of art, I think of you.
Well, thank you.
And when I see you, I think art.
Especially with this hair at the moment, it's just...
Yeah, lovely. It's lovely.
Getting a bit out of control, isn't it?
And now on your new camera as well.
Yeah, true. I got a new camera. I have a light.
If you're not already watching this on Spotify or YouTube, you get to see Callum in resplendent high-def glory. It's not one to be missed.
I must admit, it's not grainy anymore, is it? It's quite nice.
Yeah, the quality has been raised, but you do lose a slight element of mystique being hid behind the grainy fog.
Yeah. That's just the north of England, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. The smog has lifted.
Mm-hmm. How have you been? It's been a while. How are you?
Well, I've been on a Norwegian odyssey recently, both for the enjoyment of visiting the Scandinavian lands, but also to make a film. We talk about film a lot on this podcast, with it being a film club. I've actually been to make a film. We shot one over in Norway. Expect to hear me bang on about that a lot over the coming months, but that was very exciting. My first time in any Scandinavian country. Thoroughly enjoyed the outdoorsiness of it. The late nightness of the sunlight, about 11:30 at night when it was going dark. Not so enjoyable, the £15 pint of Guinness, but you grin and bear it for that moment. And that's why you then embrace the other parts of life, like going in a sauna that's floating in a bit of water. That was an unbelievable life experience. Book it online, get your code, boop, 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 in the sauna, eyes burning, jump into the water, back in the sauna again, bobbing up and down. What a great hour of life that was.
That does sound lovely, actually.
It was delightful.
Yeah.
It's really got me into sauna life. I would like to engage more in England, so I'm going to look into that. But beyond David Lloyd, I'm not sure where else I'll be able to get involved, so I'm going to have to look into it.
You need to get to... You'll fit right in East London. It's Sauna City. Sauna City.
Yeah, good.
There you go. It's Sauna City in East London at the moment. You've got all the mustachioed people are taking advantage of the saunas. There's a few.
I just need to get my mustache cut in, don't I? Like, I've got a little bit of stubble going at the minute. Maybe it's just my time just to get that tash properly going.
Yep, it is the land of the mustache. It's the land of the walking mustache, and people who try it a little bit too hard.
Yeah, I'll get my A24 t-shirt, get my mustache, get in the sauna.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's quite a few that have opened up now. I understand that Hackney Lido is the place to be.
Right.
Although I haven't been, because it sounds quite stressful, actually.
Well, the joy of this one as well was that you get in and you go and dip into the water. I'm not saying it was the most pure water in the world, but like, I wouldn't really fancy that in the Thames.
Go in the Thames, you come out with a third arm.
Yeah. Like, that's why you'd have to go back into the sauna just to burn it all off again.
Yeah, the Thames. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. It's like that episode of The Simpsons, you know, when is it the episode? No, it's the Simpsons movie when they have this initiative to clean up the lake, and then Homer dumps his pig waste in the lake, and then like a little squirrel jumps into the lake, and it comes out as like this foaming, like rabid, like evil devil thing, because the water's so toxic.
That's not what you want from your sauna experience.
No. I've only ever been to a sauna once, at a gym about 12 years ago. Once, that was it. Never been.
That's
Never
the end
been
of
to
that
another sauna.
anecdote.
Never been to another sauna.
But no, I would
Well,
love to engage. If anybody knows of any good sauna spots in the northwest of England, please write in and let me know, because after my Norwegian sauna experience, I would very much like to re-engage in that lifestyle. It just felt good. I can see why they talk about the health benefits and the reinvigoration of it, because once you power through that burn of the hot steam entering your nostrils and dunk yourself in that chilly water, you come out revitalized and like a new person. And partner that with a can or two in the sauna, you've got yourself a real life experience.
perfect combination, chronic dehydration from sweating and then having a beer.
Yeah, exactly. And then dunking yourself in a messy pool of H2O.
I mean, I feel like this smacks of spirit. Well, you're one step away from being a yogi bear, spiritual, your sauna person.
Hey,
Although it does
wherever
sound
life
great, though.
takes me, wherever life takes me. That could be the first Glacé Film Club meetup. If any film fans out there, we want to have a meet up, we could pick a film, maybe something preferably that is in a smoky and this is steamy setting. We don't really want that type of film, but anything that's in a foggy setting, we then meet up in a sauna and we all discuss the film and then go out for a beer afterwards.
I mean,
How
I
many
imagine
podcasts are doing that?
not many, but I imagine
Not many.
Given, I imagine a lot of people will just well, I say a lot of people, a lot of people will turn up. It's very popular.
Yeah.
It's very popular.
Tons.
But it'll just be a bunch of men in Macs. When I did in my internship.
Imagine taking a Mac in a sauna.
Well, when I did my internship at the BFI, one of the fellas that worked there said, "Oh yes, Tuesday is the classic film day, and you tend to get a lot of men in Macs with really thick rimmed glasses that take their film very seriously." And it reminds me of a novel that I read recently called Brian. I think I told you about this, didn't I? The guy that he moves to London and then he falls madly in love with the BFI. But then he also falls madly in love with one of this guy that he meets at the BFI, but he's too shy to talk to him. And over the course of the novel, Brian, the protagonist, progressively gets deaf and blind, and then he can't. He gets to the point where he can't actually see the film that he's watching, and he has to listen to the film. So he ends up learning every single score that a film has. So he becomes not only has an encyclopedic knowledge of film, but then also ends up having an encyclopedic knowledge of scores from classic movies. And then the book ends basically with him receiving a jumper he gives a jumper to this guy that he fancies, but then doesn't sign his name on it. And then obviously because he can't see or hear, he'll never know. It's truly, truly depressing.
It does sound it, yeah.
But it's a really nice, but it's a really good novel. I enjoyed it a lot. Hit a little bit too close to home, not gonna lie.
Men in Macs.
But yeah, there you go. Went from a sauna to Brian. There we go.
Yeah.
Sauna Brian.
Hey, it worked. It works. How about you? What's been jiggling around Callum's cultural corner recently?
I went to a gig last night, which was quite fun. It was a punk band from Melbourne. I finally got my official Courtauld membership card through.
This is exciting because we've not had a Courtauld update for a while. Last time you let us know, you had just signed up and you got your handwritten ink on paper membership. But what we're talking now, is this a more premium?
It's a card. It's a premium membership card with my name on it. It's printed.
Wow.
It's very Patrick Bateman coded. I'm just like, this is Look at that off white coloring. That's bone.
And what is the privilege you get now with this card? Has anything changed now you've got the Bateman style one?
No, it's more just it looks better in your wallet. And I can actually have it in my Apple Wallet as well. I went to see a Charade exhibition there. I think I've said this already.
Keep it coming. The listeners love it.
But there's a Hepworth exhibition. It's the opening night actually tonight. So I can get sort of free access before everybody else. I went to the Tracy Emin exhibition. It was the late night with Tate, Friday Night Lates. That was good fun. It was very quiet. Friday Night Lates at the Tate, that was good fun. Tracy Emin, that was hard work in the sense that it was trauma, and it was very. It reminded me of that scene that I've definitely mentioned before from The Mighty Boosh when the Jürgen Habermas, and he's talking about the doctor and the pencil is my best work. It explores pain and suffering, but it's also quite comedic too. It was basically that, Tracy Emin, because there was an entire room of her naked body when she's had a stoma fitted. So I went from that, and then it was sculpture about trauma and violence, and then her bed, the famous Tracy Emin bed. I was just like, this is. I feel like I'm locked in a nightmare. And it was yeah. And I didn't have a drink afterwards either. I had like a lemon and lime drink or something. I feared that if I actually had an alcoholic drink, I wouldn't be able to stop. It was just unbelievable. But I did go and see the Whistler exhibition at the Tate the other week. That was good fun.
Johnny English. Not Johnny English, from Mr. Bean.
Bean the movie. Yeah, indeed.
This is a Bean-friendly podcast, isn't it?
It is, yes. It is. Like, it was good fun. I like Whistler a lot. I like his style. And I saw his mother famously. Quite similar to the painting. Is it by Delacroix? Or is it... no, it's not Delacroix. It's David. The Socrates, the death of Socrates, and the death of Socrates is basically being imagined. Basically, Socrates is sat drinking hemlock because he's been accused of corrupting his students, and Plato is sat at the end of his deathbed and he's got his head down, but this whole scene is being imagined out the back of Plato's head, because Plato wasn't there at the death of Socrates, obviously, because this time apart. Different time period, but he's imagining the death of him, and that's what Whistler's mother is kind of similar. It's almost like, she's imagining, she's just solace, but also alone. It's fantastic. Anyway, and then of course it reminded me of the scene when he sneezes on it and tries to and rubs it out and then draws a stupid face. Very funny. Yeah. Very funny.
There's so much that's been gotten out of Bean over the years, and it seems like an endless well. The Bean well.
The Bean well. I have been well.
Good. Well, let's round up the cultural corner by concluding that you have been well. And during that time of being well, you have watched a film. I've watched the same film, and we're going to talk about it very soon. But before we do, please can you tell us what that film is and what it was about?
So I came across this film. It was bizarrely in an email that the Sight and Sound magazine sent me, and it was a list of films that I think the theme, from what I remember, was the back end of the 50s golden age. So this film was made in 1963. So, and it was dubbed as the film that Hitchcock never made. It was called Charade, 1963, screwball comedy. Mystery as well. Would like to say it's very surreal. It felt quite surreal. Written by Peter Stone and directed by Stanley Donen. It's got Cary Grant in it, Audrey Hepburn, James Coburn, George Kennedy as well. And it kind of blends lots of different genres together. So it's suspense, but it's also romance and comedy as well. It's also, I feel like I don't know if it's horror, but there are elements of it that are quite horrific and Hitchcockian. It's quite sudden in some regard. In some of the shots, like you're not expecting some of the shots that it frames. The way it frames the characters is quite it's hard on the viewing, which we'll get to when we do the review. But it starts in the French Alps, and Reggie Lampert is this expatriate that's also an interpreter as well, so she speaks French. And she tells her friend that she's divorcing her husband because they've fallen out of love. And in a classic turn of events, she meets the ever charming Cary Grant, who happens to be there as well. And it sort of parodies the meet cute trope. And they have sort of they hit it off almost within in almost unrealistically in the space of 7 seconds. And it's like, oh, will you marry me? It's like, I don't even know you yet. It's that sort of like classic sort of oh, save me from being alone. And he's charming as ever, Cary Grant. She goes back to Paris, Sylvie does, played by Audrey Hepburn for the record. She goes back to Paris, and then she goes back to where she's staying and her apartment, and it's been empty. And then a police inspector suddenly appears and says that Charles, her husband, everything's been auctioned off, and he's also died. And what follows is a murder mystery, really, that ends up spanning lots and lots of different characters, World War II veterans, police inspectors, businessmen, the CIA are also involved as well. And what transpires is that Charles has apparently come across he's got some money that his war his colleagues and comrades during the war stole, basically. So Herman Scooby, Leopold Gideon, and Tex Panth Hollow are all wanting to get this money that they were assigned to deliver during the war. Basically, it's about $250,000. They were supposed to be giving it to the French resistance during the war, but they stole it. And now that Charles is dead, they've come back to sort of reclaim what they believe is rightfully theirs. It's very Kelly's Heroes type vibe. If you're familiar with that film, and there's these soldiers that are going to go and get this gold, and then they end up sharing it with Nazis, and it's a bit of a comedy and action in that regard as well. But this film it takes the viewer in so many different directions in terms of conspiracy, and the characters change their identity so many times throughout, especially Cary Grant's character. He's known by several names. Brian, he's known by Peter, he's then known by Alexander, he's also known by, and Adam as well. There's all these different names that he's known by, because he is the trickster, the artiste, and you end up being taken for a ride by all of the characters, really, because you don't really know who's who and who's actually who is claiming that they are who they really are. It's a master of intrigue, I think, and it's really funny, and I enjoyed it a lot. So that is, that's Charade, basically.
Thank you very much, Callum. As always, It did feel like a bit of a left field choice, this one. We've recently been reviewing a lot of modern films, cinematic releases, but it was exciting to go back and watch something from times gone by. And we chatted about this a little bit before we got rolling, and you said that in that article or the recommendation that you read through the Sight and Sound magazine, they were talking about it being like a film that was... it could have been a Hitchcock film, but also it was one of the last films of like the golden age of cinema, which triggered something in my mind. Because when I was watching it and then I read that it was 1963, it felt like it should have been a bit earlier than that era in the style of film it was and the kind of scripts. And we've talked about this quite a few times when we've watched films from the bygone era of cinema of the 1940s, mainly things like It's a Wonderful Life and 12 Angry Men, and then going into the 50s of these great scripts with big name actors. You don't get much bigger of the time than Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn, but this definitely felt something that felt like a golden era, but also early 60s going into mid 60s, you picture coming into the more contemporary era of stuff. So it did, yeah, I think that was an interesting premise, that, because it felt like a classic film and it had a lot of elements of that golden age of cinema in that the script was bob on, there was always intrigue, there was jeopardy throughout, and you had a lot of very well written and developed characters. And the thing that stood out to me for the film is, beyond it just being captivating throughout, and it was funny as well. There was humour and intrigue, but I loved how it. There was the idea of identity with all the characters was quite prominent. The fact that, yes, you had a confidence trickster at the heart of it all, and his identity changed a lot, but no one's identity was clear to each other, and people's identity was malleable and fluid, and therefore the morality of all their characters was pretty grey. And I've said this many times before, that we like moral greyness in films because it makes things interesting. It makes you have to make the decision and makes you uncomfortable with the people that you warm to and root for in the film. And I think on one hand, this film was very captivating because it was really watchable, because it had a very good script that was really tight. Like, I think films of the golden age of cinema that stand out are ones that have scripts where there's no fat on it. It's like bang, scene, and everything feels like it has a purpose and it's captivating. And this absolutely felt like one of them. But I loved what it did with the characters, and the idea of that the identity was unclear throughout, all the way to the end. You're not really sure who's who, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and that made it more interesting and gave you more to think about as a viewer. So, screwball comedy, in for it, bit of a mick take, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but within it did have depth, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I thought it was a great watch. What do you think about that in terms of the deeper elements to it? So talks about there like the plot and how it plays out, but for me the idea of identity was something that stood out. What else stood out to you in terms of what the film was doing beyond just being a captivating romp?
Well, the Library of Congress has described it as being
they're back. They're back
culturally and aesthetically important. I do think there's an element of the like sort of myth of the American dream a little bit.
Okay.
You know, you've got, so it's 63, so America is having, you know, a cultural political crisis in the early 60s. And I think there are political and cultural crises, sorry. And I think there's an element of you've got these World War II veterans who believe that they were fighting for something, and they've come back and they've clearly all got PTSD from the war. And of course, this film sort of, James Coburn's character Tex is kind of he's quite comical in his delivery, but Guile, I think he's called, the guy with one arm. Is it Guile or is it Herman? Herman Scooby?
I think you might have been mixing some names there.
No, I am. Yeah. Who is it? Oh no, it's Dial. So Dial's the alias for Hamilton. He plays that's Walter. That's played by Walter Matthau. And Scooby. Yeah, Scooby is the guy that's played by George Kennedy Jr. Yes, he's the guy
This
with one
highlights the
arm.
point of the film where no one's
Yeah.
identity is very clear.
Yeah. Well, he plays. Yeah, so he plays the guy with one arm, and he's
Yeah.
the most intimidating character, I think, out of the triumvirate.
They're all like
and
quite like comical caricatures, aren't they? Like with text.
they are, but they are comical caricatures. But I do think the film's sort of like not necessarily making it central to the narrative, but I do think there's an element of you got these guys that are chasing this money, this mythology, this money that doesn't really exist. In the same way that they're chasing a dream. I think there's definitely something there, particularly in the context of the soldiers returning from war, and they're all scrapping for the money, and they're not necessarily a unit anymore like they were during the war. They're all hyper individual. They're very selfish, and so they all want the money themselves. And the final line, let's have lots of boys and name them after you. There's a sort of a really interesting comment being made there about masculinity and inheritance and entitlement and identity. And it's not the film's main agenda. It's taking these themes and sort of poking a little bit of fun at them in this sort of like
and that gender element is definitely there, isn't it? Like it's a bit of like a mixtape of like look at what films do. They just go, oh yeah, the woman fawning over the man, and like
exactly
he's cool and slick, and even though like he's lied and he's like in many ways morally
it's a bit of a spoof movie, really, isn't it?
It is.
It's a spoof of a romance, in the same way that Burn After Reading is the Coen brothers is a spoof of a spy movie. Really,
they're very much in the screwball comedy area.
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Coen brothers were fans of this film.
Yes,
it's very similar in terms of its delivery. But I do think there is something being made here about something sort of poking fun a little bit at the concept of identity and individualism and freedom, perhaps.
And this idea of I think there is something to dig into a bit more, specifically that they were in the Second World War, and the idea of like the story that they buried that money and they're trying to go back and get it, because that all threads into their identity, because what's core to their identity is that they're veterans. But as you say, they then become these more individualistic characters. So in some ways it's then, and you think of the era of this, 63, so it's not that long after the end of the Second World War. America is still engaged in conflicts across the world, and there's this idea of what do we see veterans as, our war heroes, and there's lots of films, always have been, which really big up veterans and glorified war films, and then they're putting that as a central point of their identity. And I don't think, again, as you say, it doesn't hold these things central to the film, but what I like about it is that it makes a captivating, humorous, intriguing film, which is a great watch, but actually just underneath it's doing a lot with the identity of the characters, which is making you think like, who are these people? What do I actually think about them? But what do I think about these other themes, like their attitude to women, their look back on being in the war, their attitude towards money and individualism, and like it's not pushing those agendas, but this is why I think the film's got the two pillars. It's got the two Glacé Film Club pillars of a great film, in that it's got very, very watchable, but also it makes you think, and it's doing that without trying too hard to do that, I feel.
I mean, it's very, it's very much of its time, and you can tell the filmmakers are really, really familiar with the craft of classic filmmaking, in the sense that it's very similar to Charlie Chaplin's Gold Rush.
Mhm.
You got a down and out guy, in the midst of the Great Depression, and there's visual irony there. Gold Rush during one of history's most devastating economic downturns.
Mhm.
And there's definitely something going on with this film in the same way. You've got I mean, it's personified when she comes back to her apartment in Paris and everything's been stripped away. Her whole life gone, all sold at auction. And there's a sense of reinvention, maybe, but there's also a sense of you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps a little bit. In America, but I think it's a really it was a fun take on a series of genres that I think dominated Hollywood in that time period. The action hero, the fight of good versus bad. Whereas actually in this film, all the characters are pretty insufferable. I think anyway. I don't think many of the characters have that many redeeming qualities. It's almost, I don't know if this is the phrase, but they're almost like anti-hero almost. Cary Grant's character, at least.
Yeah, because even when you find out at the end, like, the CIA link and stuff like that, it's still like, it's very smarmy, and it's like, you kind of like, I don't know what to think, but it wraps itself up. I think that's what's clever about it. It wraps itself up just as like a classic film of where you follow the plot and it's like, there's a mystery to this, it's solved, and there's a satisfaction to it. But there's other stuff going on with this one.
I'll tell you what I did really like, actually. I really liked the attention to detail, sonic literacy.
Oh, yeah. We're back.
When they're on the Seine, when Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant are on that boat, and obviously they're not actually on the water.
I was going to bring this scene up.
Yeah, but when they go under the bridge, and the sound quality echoes as if as it would if you're under an actual bridge.
Yeah,
and then as the boat moves, and it goes back to normal sound. I really liked that. It was a really nice bit of sound engineering.
It was so funny though, like how like the projected background, like how naff it was.
But at the time in the 60s, it would have been brilliant. I
want to know, actually, I'm intrigued. Like, my film history's not on point enough for that, of how of the moment that was, or was that slightly old and they've used it to feel a little bit like that? I don't know. Maybe it was just of that time, but I was enjoying watching it, being like, because the film is a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
When I got to that point, I was like, I don't know whether this is a piss take or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just the good sound editing. Because it was a bit
ridiculous, the setting they were in, and he's like,
the whole thing's ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous, isn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if like that the naffness of that's been hammed up, or whether that was literally just of 1963. That is the best quality that they can knock out.
I mean, I want to say it's the latter, because I quite liked it, regardless of. Yeah, I like that bit. It was quite fun. The sound is funny, those old films, because all the characters sound the same. They all deliver the same style of same intonation. It's like, oh, won't you marry me? I love you. I absolutely, truly, and utterly adore you. And then the American guy goes, "No, you don't, child. I only love myself. I'm a hero. I'm a traveler in an antique land, and you're my little dove." I think he actually refers to her as a little lamb at one point. He's like, "Oh, you little lamb, you're all lost and bothered, aren't you?" That was quite good, actually. I thought that was quite good, actually. I thought that was quite good, actually.
That was nice. It was nice.
So I enjoyed watching it purely for the sound recording.
Satisfying. satisfying.
Yeah.
Before we round up,
Yeah.
I just wanted I wanted to add in terms of going back to what we said at the beginning, in that it felt one like it could have been a Hitchcock film, but in the article that you read, the suggestion that it was a kind of like the last of a golden era film. Maybe it was even a bit late for that. But do you think it fits into that classic film style? And as I said at the top, I watched it, and even though my dates of film history aren't bob on, when I saw 1964, it's like, in my head it felt like it should have been an earlier film. Though, would you agree with that you read, and that it does feel like something part of that, or does it feel pretty much bob on for you, and it's a good example?
I think it's because of the casting. I think because when I read that when Cary Grant did this, I think he was in his 50s.
Yeah.
And Audrey Hepburn was in her mid-20s. And the original writing, I think, was to sort of to get them to have a relationship, and they do really. But Cary Grant was a bit apprehensive about it purely because of the age difference. And I think, and you got James Coburn as well, and Walter Matthau as well, and there's lots of other actors in there that had been in movies in the 50s and the late 40s, and I think there's an element of because the film was stacked with all these titans of the industry at that time. And then because they were getting old a little bit, it's kind of like, oh, this is the last, the last hurrah for these actors, because by the time the 60s roll around, it's Sean Connery is the big deal, and Steve McQueen and Clint Eastwood. You know, it's a different style of actor that's coming through, I think. So I
felt like it could have been a black and white film.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think there's an element of the Hitchcock aesthetic that is in there. I think also helps a little bit. I think got why it got that title as being the sort of the last of this golden age. Maybe Hollywood was changing in the 60s. And the way films were made were changing in the 60s. Different. I'm trying to think if it's the height of the. I'm trying to think. Cold War is still going on, but I can't remember what year Ayn Rand published The Fountainhead, because I know in the 50s there was a lot of films that were being made that sort of commented on equality, or any form of anything that criticized capitalism was essentially ousted for. You were basically ousted for being a communist. I imagine that the legacy of that was still being felt in the 60s, given the fact that America was in Vietnam at this point. And it's, Cuban Missile Crisis had just happened as well. So I think maybe there's an element of this is the end of something, maybe, and a new age is coming in, a new age of modernity, perhaps. I don't know. It's just I'm just theorizing, because that's what we do, isn't it? We theorize.
We watch, we discuss, and we have done that once again. And I think that's a good way to wrap us up. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a refreshing watch for a film that I had never heard of before, but fell right into the heart of some classic cinema with two really big name actors in a cinematic style, which I've grown to love. And this was a great example of it. I thought it was a great Sunday afternoon watch. It very much felt like something that had come on BBC Two at Sunday afternoon. As I was watching it with your brother, I mentioned to him that it felt like something that my dad would have watched many times on a Sunday, and I did consult him with that, and he said yes, he had watched it at least 5 times.
On a Sunday, specifically?
It must have been a Sunday, yeah. I'm going to say it's just Sundays.
TCM Sundays.
They've actually encrypted the video file now, so you can only watch it on Sundays. But it very much felt like that. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it for all those reasons I said, but not just because it was a captivating and interesting watch, but it had some extra depth to it that it didn't really put to the front of the film. It started and ended as an entertaining watch, and if you just wanted to get that out of it, you'd get it, but there was a bit more there if you wanted it. I'm going to give Charade 8 out of 10. Callum, can I hear from you, please?
I've just realised that as this episode's gone on, it's got darker in here.
Yeah, yeah, but now you're framed even nicer now because you've got the darker.
I'm just a floating head. When we started, it was light, and now it's dark. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. I quite liked the way it played with genre, and I also really enjoyed the fact that it made me laugh. But it was also quite. We haven't even spoken about this. I mean, it's quite violent, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, James Coburn gets suffocated to death in a plastic bag, and then he just jumps to his suffocated face. I was like, oh my God.
There's like some quite comedic violence, like when they're fighting on the roof.
Yeah, that is funny.
And then he just kind of like throws himself at him and goes off the edge.
Yeah. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's culturally significant, Marcus.
Yes, and we cannot deny the opinion that comes from the Library of Congress. Callum, once again, fantastic. Thank you very much for joining. I'm putting forward this week's film. It was nice to go for a throwback of some classic cinema interspersed with some of our more contemporary cinematic reviews. But that's that for another episode. We will, of course, be bringing you plenty more reviews. Watching the big films that are coming out. We are hitting summer now, so there's plenty of theatrical releases coming up. Big blockbusters. Some big name directors releasing films soon, and we will not shy away from reviewing them. Of course we won't. But we will also be interspersing some nice classic films into the mix there. We will have some conversation episodes coming up, so stay tuned. Keep your eyes peeled for some great conversations with interesting individuals from the world of film and everything creative. If you want to join the conversation, come on over to our Instagram account at the Glacé Film Club. We're also on TikTok by the same name. And if you're not watching this, you can see our lovely faces and Callum's getting slowly darker in the background.
Yeah.
On Spotify or on YouTube with the Glacé Film Club podcast. We love to hear about what you think about our reviews, about the film that we've watched, but also any suggestions you've got for films that we can check out, we will take on board and go and dive in and watch them. Also, if you've enjoyed it and you're feeling generous, we'd love to have your reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening or watching, because it helps us to grow the film club community and get more people involved. But that's that. Until next time, that was another episode of the Glacé Film Club podcast. We'll see you all later.